Welcome to the Cala podcast. All right, let's settle in. It is Monday, January 26, 2026. So whether you're stuck in traffic on the 405, maybe getting a workout in, or just enjoying that morning coffee, we're really glad you're here.
We are.
We have a pretty massive stack to get through today. And I have to say, if you've been driving around your neighborhood lately, looking at new builds, renovations, and you're feeling like the whole vibe of home design is fundamentally shifting. You're not crazy. You're actually just really observant.
Oh, it is definitely not just you. I mean, the landscape is literally changing color right in front of us.
It really is.
Yeah.
So our mission for this deep dive is to bridge a very specific and I think a very interesting gap. We're connecting the nuts and bolts expertise of high-end construction.
The real technical stuff.
Right. With the aesthetic trends that are absolutely defining California in 2026. We're working with two main sources today. First, a comprehensive profile on the LA-based firm Cala. And second, this fresh industry report, Color Palettes and Exterior Finishes Popular in California 2026.
And I really love how these two documents talk to each other because, usually when we talk about trends, it's this abstract thing on Pinterest or a blog.
Totally.
But then you have the builder profile, which is the reality check. It's the who that's actually executing the what. It just grounds the whole thing in practice.
Exactly. It's the difference between a drawing and a building. But let's get right to the hook, because reading this 2026 report, something jumped out at me immediately. I mean, think back over the last, 10 years?
Oh, yeah.
What was the dominant look? It was the era of the white box, right? Stark minimalism, ultra-cool grays. Everything was so sharp, almost sterile.
Apple Store aesthetic. It was absolutely everywhere.
Right.
But in 2026, that is officially over. The headline here is this massive pivot toward warmth, balance, and resilience. I really want to double-click on that word, resilience.
That's the key word for this entire deep dive. It's so easy to just dismiss color trends as fashion, like bell-bottoms coming back.
Sure.
But when you dig into the data here, you realize this shift isn't just about what looks good on Instagram. It's about climate adaptation. The sources are so clear that the harsh California sun, the coastal salt air, the dry heat, all of it, these factors are actually dictating the colors and finishes people are choosing. It's basically evolution, but for your house.
Yeah.
Survival of the fittest for your exterior paint.
Which I love. It adds this layer of logic to the beauty. It's not just pretty, it's smart. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of why beige is back and why it's actually high-tech this time, we need to understand who's doing the work. Let's open up the file on Cala. Okay, so Cala is our anchor for this. They're a full-service construction and remodeling company based right here in Los Angeles. And I want to be precise because in this industry, credentials are everything. Their license number is #1032013.
I always appreciate seeing that license number right up front. It signals accountability. It means they're not just, a guy with a truck.
Right. It's a licensed entity.
And their service map, it's really covered the whole sprawl. We're talking LA County and beyond Pasadena, the San Fernando Valley, Santa Monica, Woodland Hills.
And that geography is actually really important for what we're going to talk about later with materials. Because building in Santa Monica with that heavy marine layer and salt, it's a completely different animal than building in the baking heat of Woodland Hills.
Oh, absolutely. It's a microclimate game.
Yep.
Now, what really stood out to me in their profile is their model. They call it design build. I hear general contractor a lot. I hear architect a lot. But design build feels different. Can you break that down?
It's a huge distinction. And it solves a major pain point. So think of the traditional model like a relay race where none of the runners talk to each other.
Okay.
You hire an architect, they draw this beautiful dream house, you pay them. Then you take those drawings to a builder and the builder looks at them and says, this is impossible, or this is going to cost you $200,000 more than your budget.
The classic nightmare. The triangle of blame.
Exactly. The architect blames the builder blames the architect, and the homeowner is just stuck in the middle paying for all of it. The design-build philosophy that Cala uses, it solves that by putting everything under one roof. The planning, design, permits, construction, it's all one team.
So it's a single point of accountability.
Correct. The person designing the kitchen knows exactly what the construction team can get and for how much. They know the timeline. The source lists the benefits. Streamlined communication, faster timelines, way better budget control, and ultimately a higher quality outcome.
That one-stop shop thing is just so appealing. It bridges that gap between a creative vision and the nuts and bolts reality of pouring concrete. It just sounds like it removes all the friction.
It really does.
And looking at their scope of work, they're not just doing bathroom remodels. I mean, the list is extensive. New home construction, luxury remodeling, ADUs, which are still huge in 2026.
Massive.
Commercial tenant improvements, even outdoor living spaces like pools and patios.
It's a comprehensive portfolio. It covers the entire life cycle of a property.
And I think it's important to note the human element, too. The source actually lists specific team roles. We have John Smith as a roofing specialist, Mark Davis as installation supervisor, Alex Brown as a safety inspector, and Michael Taylor on quality control.
I like that detail because it shows specialization. You don't just have one handyman trying to do everything. You have a person specifically walking the site for safety. You have someone specifically checking the finishes. It shows they have a deep bench of experts.
Exactly, and they have a physical footprint to back it up. Offices on West Pico in LA and Burbank Boulevard in Woodland Hills, they're embedded in these communities.
Which brings us right back to the environment those communities are in and why that environment is changing how our houses look.
Right. Okay, let's slide over to that 2026 industry report. The aesthetic shift.
The warmth and earth movement.
Warmth and earth. Sounds like a candle scent. But the source says this is the big one for 2026. A move toward warm neutrals and earth tones. It lists specific colors. Warm beige, taupe, light clay, muted gray, and warm off-white.
It is a total rejection of the sterile. For so long, modern meant clinical.
Yeah, like a laboratory.
Exactly. Now, modern means organic. And the analysis is fascinating because the source says this palette is pulled directly from natural materials: sand, stone, bark, sun-washed hillsides.
Sun-washed hillsides is such a great description for a paint color. But it makes sense. If you drive up the PCH or through the canyons, those are the colors you see in the landscape.
And this is where the why comes in. It's not just for looks. The report highlights a functional reason for the rise of greige and muted green-gray. It's about something called light reflectance value, or LRV.
Okay, unpack that. What's the functional difference?
So stark white has a very high LRV. It bounces almost all the light back. In California, where the sun is just incredibly intense, a white house can basically become a giant reflector. It creates glare. It's visually aggressive.
It's like optical fatigue, snow blindness in the suburbs.
Exactly. These warmer, earthier tones, they absorb just enough of that light to reduce the glare while still keeping the house cool. It helps the home settle into the landscape instead of shouting from it.
So it's a shift from dominance to harmony. Blending in rather than standing out.
Precisely.
Now, speaking of the sun being aggressive, let's talk finishes. This was the part where I actually stopped and said, wait, really? The report mentions a huge rise in matte and low-sheen finishes.
This is a counterintuitive one for a lot of people.
Right, because the old logic, my dad's logic, was make it glossy so it's easy to clean, make it shiny so it looks new.
That works for a kitchen backsplash, maybe. But the report flags a huge issue with gloss on California exteriors: UV degradation.
So the sun just eats the gloss.
Basically, yeah. High gloss paints rely on a specific polymer structure for that shine. Under our relentless UV exposure, those chemical bonds break down faster. The gloss gets patchy or it chalks. You know when you touch an old wall and get that white powder on your hand?
Oh yeah, the chalky hand. So glossy house actually looks older faster.
Exactly. It ages poorly. The source explains that low sheen and matte finishes are becoming standard not just for the look, which they call refined and modern, but because they're more UV stable. Plus, there's an aesthetic bonus. They hide surface flaws.
That makes total sense. A super glossy wall, every little stucco bump, every uneven patch just lights up when the sun hits it. A matte finish is like an Instagram filter for your house.
It's forgiving. It smooths everything out. And when you combine that with the durability standards mentioned, like the Sherwin-Williams paint colors in the report, you see this is a chemistry game.
It explicitly names Sherwin-Williams. Is that just brand placement or is there a technical reason?
It's about the formulation. You need resistance to fading. You can't just slap any generic paint on a house here and expect it to hold its color. The formulation has to be a shield.
I love that.
Yep.
You're not painting your house, you're shielding it. And the source breaks this down by geography, which I found so helpful.
This is critical. California isn't one climate. The report says for coastal homes, say Santa Monica, you need moisture-resistant paint.
Because of the salt air.
Salt is incredibly corrosive, but if you go inland
To the valley or Pasadena.
the focus shifts entirely to UV-stable formulas. It's all about sun damage. Baking is the problem.
And the desert regions.
Heat-resistant coatings.
Yeah.
You need something that won't just degrade when the thermometer hits the 110.
So in 2026, you can't just pick a color you like. You have to treat your exterior finish like specialized gear. You wouldn't wear a raincoat to the desert.
Perfect analogy. And that's why you need a design-build firm. You need someone who knows that distinction, not just someone who knows how to hold a brush.
Okay, let's pivot to style. We have the science, the chemistry, but how does this actually look on a house? Let's start with the modern contemporary look.
For modern homes, the source suggests keeping it subtle. Clean lines are still king. The palette is light gray or warm white. But, and this is the key, they're using black accents on the trim, doors, and windows.
That high contrast look. It grounds the house, right? Stops it from looking like a marshmallow.
It does. It frames everything. Now, compare that to Spanish and Mediterranean styles, the classics.
Right. You can't mess with those too much.
You can't. And the source agrees. For 2026, it's about doubling down on warmth. Cream, sand, clay tones, earthy reds to complement the terracotta tile. It should look like it was built from the earth it stands on.
And then there's Craftsman. I always feel like those are tricky because there's so much detail.
They are, which is why the report suggests a layered palette. Neutral colors for the main body, deeper hues for the trim to highlight the craftsmanship, and this is crucial, natural wood finishes.
Don't paint over the good wood.
I've never painted over the good wood. It's about matching the skin to the bones of the house.
And that leads right into the value proposition section. Curb appeal. For most people, their home is their biggest financial asset.
It's the holy grail of real estate. The source is very blunt. Neutral colors appeal to more buyers and support resale value. It's just simple math. If you paint your house wild purple, you're limiting your market.
To a very small circle of people.
Very small. These warm, earth-inspired 2026 trends signal to buyers that a home is contemporary and well cared for. It feels move-in ready.
And like we said, it's not just cosmetic. Good exterior paint is an investment. It's a barrier. It reduces how often you have to repaint. If you do it right, you might not have to worry about it for a very long time.
Exactly. It protects the capital investment. That's the bottom line.
So let's zoom out. What's the summary here for someone thinking about their next project?
I think if we look at the big picture for 2026, it's about durability meeting natural beauty. We're moving away from the artificial, the glossy, the cold. We're moving toward warm earth tones, low-sheen finishes, and materials scientifically formulated for California.
And on the execution side, you have a firm like Cala builders. They're the ones positioned to pull this off. They have the license, #1032013, and the design build model that turns all these complex ideas into a standing structure.
They're the bridge between the report and the reality. They take the trend and make it home.
So if you're listening and thinking, maybe it is time for a warm beige update, or you have a bigger project, the sources gave us some direct contact info for Cala builders.
Right. The phone number listed is 213-855-7557.
And those two locations, 5260 West Pico Boulevard in Los Angeles, and 21255 Burbank Boulevard in Woodland Hills. So they're accessible from both sides of the hill.
And for the digital natives, the source mentions a simple contact form on their website for quick responses. They aim for a response within 24 hours, which is pretty impressive in the construction world.
That is very impressive. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought. We talked a lot about colors, sand, bark, stone. We talked about blending in.
The camouflage of comfort.
Exactly. Here's my provocative thought for you to chew on. If our exterior colors in 2026 are shifting so heavily to blend with nature instead of standing out against it, does that signal something deeper culturally? Are we looking for our homes to be sanctuaries? In a world that feels so chaotic and loud, maybe we don't want our houses to scream for attention. Maybe we want them to whisper. We want them to feel like a natural extension of the earth, a place of calm.
That's a fascinating way to look at it. The home is a retreat starting from the outside in, the paint color setting the mood before you even walk through the door.
Something to think about next time you look at a paint swatch. Thank you for listening to the Cala Builders podcast. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Goodbye, everyone.